Welcome to Beyond Tradition, where we talk about the nitty-gritty of entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Stuff that nobody else wants to talk about. Top to bottom, everything in between.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Therese.
Hi. Hey. Hi.
I'm Shelby. If you didn't catch our intro episode, rewind it.
Go check it out.
Go check it out.
It introduces us
Yeah.
and introduces exactly what we're going to be going over and our perspectives and
tells a little bit of our stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
The goal for this podcast is to bring education, confidence to entrepreneurs, partners of entrepreneurs, people who want to pursue being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Really, that's our target and our focus. So,
for sure.
Getting started today, what do we want to say? Our focus is the importance of financial literacy.
Yes, our topic of conversation today.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we all go into entrepreneurship with an idea of what we want to do and not having the knowledge to actually achieve it in a financial situations, or that's the wrong wording, but you know what I mean.
No, I think you got it. The financial literacy, I think, is a big, we've talked about this before. Across the board, across the United States, there is a lack of financial
it's
literacy.
One of my passion projects.
Right.
So for sure, I love teaching entrepreneurs the nitty gritty of the financial part of things.
The financial part is huge.
I
mean, it's honestly, what makes or breaks it.
For sure.
I mean, talk about your passion project, what you're working on.
What am I working on?
Because I know.
All right.
Guinea pig.
I know. Yes. So, I forgot to bring it up when I introduced myself in our first podcast or our first episode. First episode, right?
Yeah, either way.
Okay. So, I have created a book to help people with financial literacy and to understand the financial aspect and having a fulfilling and prosperous life. And then I've also created a journal, like a self-guiding journal that will teach you how to map out your financial situation between budgeting and goal setting and really, like the first basic steps of gaining control of your money, basically. Yeah.
And money is a sore subject for a lot of people.
It is. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially the more that I talk to people, and I'll throw out there that I have I've created these 2 resources, and it's crazy how many people that you think they have
everything together.
Yeah, all of it together. And then they're like, oh no, I would love a copy of this.
Yeah.
I need help with my finances. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, okay, well,
here you go.
Here you go. And then I'm like, and again, if you missed the first podcast, I'm a consultant. So it's one of those, I'll help people basically get it together.
And we are going to utilize you. Loft and Plumbing.
Yes, for sure.
And part of our, I should say, package that we offer our employees is we do partner with a wealth advisor. They're
which
helping.
Is great. Oh yeah, for sure. Because they're the ones that set up like the 401ks. And I don't do any of that.
Right.
That's a specialty. And I just guide people and teach
we're
them
do
about
forced,
a
forced learning.
Yes, just for your employees. Definitely.
Again,
definitely.
It leans into the lack of financial literacy across the board.
You can't, when you're making $2,500 a week working, again, we're both in construction. So, most construction employees work, 50 plus hours a week. So they're pulling in some really great money. And for them to come back on Monday and say that they're broke after they had their paycheck on Friday. It's just one of those things where you're like, okay, it would be great to help them get into a better financial state, basically.
Yeah.
And I think it's just lack of education.
It truly is. And then there's also the shame that surrounds it. So then there's a lack of initiative. To take that step, to learn, to address it. I know I had anxiety around money for a lot of reasons that I didn't pinpoint until I was way older. then we can even get into the like limiting beliefs and number 1, still hit it.
Oh,
if you guys missed it.
All right. I'm zero.
Yeah.
0 on the board.
In the first episode, we kept track. I think we ended up tied though.
Yeah, we did.
We both talk with our hands. I'm gonna hit this mic.
Yes, me too. I'm trying very hard to keep it. Yep. To keep it. That's the only reason why my hands are down, because usually I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
So
but back to what I was saying, you know, the anxiety piece is there. And it's really hard sometimes to bring yourself to address those things and to have those conversations.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So,
and it's worse when someone like calls you out on it.
Oh God.
I've gone into businesses to help them. And when I'll bring up certain things and they're like, well, no, I'm not going to change that. And I'm like, well, I'm like, this isn't a necessity for your business.
Yeah.
This is a want. And so,
yeah,
it's definitely awkward conversations. But again, the business owner is going to do whatever they want to do.
100%.
So I can only help and guide so much. And I'm not always right. I mean, we're people. You know, I'm going to give you what has worked for not only myself, but for other companies. And it may not be the best fit for you, you know? So,
but I think it is what it is. And the important thing is, especially being an entrepreneur, something that a lot of people don't really bring up is that my experience especially has been, it is going to make you face every part of your character, your mental health, and good, bad, all of it. All of it. And I can say too, the anxiety portion, when I started, even now, it does not matter how much money you have in the bank account. It does not matter how much money you're making. That anxiety is still there. So you have to address it. It has to be addressed. It's a really big thing. Oops. Number 2. It has to be addressed.
Yes.
It's not comfortable. It's not fun. It's not fun facing your shortcomings. It's not fun.
No, not at all. It sucks.
Yeah.
This is again the nitty-gritty of entrepreneurship. Everyone's like, oh, it's so great. I get to run my own business.
Make my own schedule.
Exactly. No, not at all.
No one talks about, well, and they may, and I think mental health is becoming more of a subject recently.
For sure.
But I can remember the anxiety about money specifically. We sold our house in Oklahoma. Fun fact, we actually benefited from the 2007, 2006 like predatory lending that led to the 2008 collapse.
Oh, okay. Did you?
We had 103% financing. Got approved for something we shouldn't have. We did a $500 deposit or $1,000 deposit, earnest money deposit.
Yeah.
Paid for our inspection. We got $700 back at closing.
That's amazing.
When they talk about that predatory lending, I was like,
you're like, I heard about it, but I haven't heard any like actual like stories. I mean, there were stories out there, but I don't think I know anybody. You're the first person I know that actually
I was
benefited
making
from
like
that.
$15 an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Trevor was making 16.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We bit off way more than we can chew. That payment still haunts us to this day.
Oh, I bet.
Like $857.15. That was the payment.
Okay.
Shouldn't have been approved for it.
Yeah.
We were able to work 2 jobs each, pay for it. But I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
We benefited from that. But that really is what started us in real estate. That was our first house. We sold it, made enough for a down payment for the next house.
And then the cycle starts.
The next house was a fixer upper. Luckily, 25 acres. Like I sold 25 acres to move here.
That's awesome.
And my chickens and everything.
Yeah. You're like, here you go.
I tried to explain that. I look like a city girl, 100%. But no,
that's amazing.
Chickens and turkeys. We can tell the turkey story later. But
oh, turkeys.
But selling that house because we had, we took it from a 2-1 to a 3-2. Kind of what we're doing here too.
Yeah.
But sold that house. We had enough of a nest egg to move, be here, start the businesses. That being said, that nest egg dwindled so fast. So fast.
Yeah.
Even with us still working, because that was the other thing was we took 3 or 4 months off, started these companies. We did work for other people while we were building them.
Okay.
Even then, it was dwindling. And so we were freaking out. And that anxiety about money, and I just remember having a very distinct conversation with Travis, like, we have to keep going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have to.
Well, I feel like sometimes when that ball starts rolling, it's not,
Yeah.
you don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that it was like, I'll be completely transparent. We went from 6 figures, less than 20 grand. And that's when his freak out kind of started, was
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not going back to paycheck. And I'm like, I'm not either.
Yeah.
But we have to keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yep.
Keep doing what we're doing because we're growing. It's working. So,
Yes.
and it worked. Now,
Yeah,
here we
for
are
sure.
6 years later.
Exactly.
But again, we talk about that level of anxiety.
Yeah. Well, the first like 3 years of opening your own business are the hardest, or depending on what industry you're in,
Yeah.
I don't know much about the restaurant industry, but I heard it's 5 years for them.
Yeah.
It's like rumor
That makes
on the
sense.
streets, what I've been told from other
That makes
like
a lot
people
of
that
sense.
own restaurants, but
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is. Do not quote me.
Yeah.
If you own a restaurant, drop
Yeah.
me a comment down below and let me
Let's
know. Yeah,
talk.
let's talk about it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So at least you guys kept going and you didn't give up.
Yeah. And I think that's
So there's usually a breaking point.
that was
It's
it.
usually like when you get to that moment of just like, man, F this. I don't want to do this anymore. Like,
We're not going back to that.
yeah. And like, but we're not going back either. What are we going to do? And
Yeah.
that's that moment where it's like, okay, we got this.
Yeah.
And you just keep going.
And that's when I really started networking. That anxiety kind of hit. And I was like, all right, how do we grow? And I'll never forget this. Actually, we'll say this. My broker, I met with him. And again, we had no family, no friends here, starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And I was not about to cold call to get business for real estate.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, Shelby, you need to be in every group possible. Period. You need to be out meeting people.
Whew.
Networking.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a tall glass.
I would have never thought of networking before, but he said that. He goes, get on, I think, what is it? Meetup is the app.
Yeah.
I started there.
Yeah.
Joined every networking group. And at one point I was networking 5 times a week.
That's incredible.
So it was like working 40 hours, networking at night, almost every night, all the events.
Yeah.
And then showing houses on the weekend and working that in when I could.
That's called grinding.
That was
the definition of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, we're not going back to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, yeah. Now, my anxiety, because of all of this, led me to working myself to the bone like that. And that is good. I think there is a place for working hard like that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can come from zero to what we're doing now without a level of dedication and work
for
and
sure.
hustle.
For sure.
It's not sustainable. I can tell you that.
No, I think again, through these podcasts, we're going to go over the balance of it.
The balance, 100%.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs face that, where all of a sudden it just feels like there's so much, but
it never ends.
Yeah. And then they're not taking care of themselves because you want to hit this goal. But again, it's all the balance.
It's all the balance. I will say
balance.
It was anxiety driven.
Yeah.
Money driven for a long time. But I do think there's empowerment in knowledge. And that's why I think there's a huge, huge value in what you're bringing to the table. And that's kind of why I'm going to force it. Like, we're not going to, this isn't going to be optional. We're going to close for half a day. Yeah. And my guys are going to go in and we're going to teach them. Because unfortunately, it's not standard knowledge for everyone. So
it's not. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's standard knowledge for any. If you're not taught it at home, I don't think or if you're at a really great work environment where they're going to teach you these things, I don't necessarily think it's taught. So
it's not. I will say that, like, for us, I still don't know.
Yes, you do.
I still don't know a lot of things. I think it's that constant pursuit, but I still think I can be better about it.
Of course, 100%. I can be better at so many things. I feel like I'm learning. I learn something new every single day where I'm like, okay, or a better way to do something, or it's a continuous growth.
Yeah.
no matter what. And I think that goes across any industry
Yeah.
because everything is ever changing.
I will
So,
say, in talking about kind of the financial literacy for spouses, um, for us, it was not taught in our homes.
yeah.
And we had to overcome limited belief systems.
hmm
We had to overcome the lack of knowledge.
Well, because your home environment affects you,
Yeah.
how you were raised and what you were introduced to.
Mhm.
It's a lot of either not knowing or being told that no, you can't do that
Yeah.
type of.
And
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And I will say
hmm
overcoming naysayers.
Yeah.
But that money is a huge relationship strain for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like isn't it the one of the main
It
reasons
is.
people split?
Which it makes sense when you come from different belief systems. I think that that's natural. I think having those hard conversations
Before you get married.
before you get married, but there's always that touching
Yeah.
base. There's always
Yeah.
are we aligned in our goals?
Yeah.
Do we have the same long-term plan?
Yes.
Um and then you add in normal relationships have an issue with money.
Yeah.
Let's add that layer now of entrepreneurship
Yeah, exactly.
to that.
It's a lot of fun.
And it's not just now your personal finances.
Yeah.
Now you may be good. Case in point, you may be a really great plumber. You do not know a damn thing about a P&L.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well,
Right.
that's what again, I run into a lot of contractors. They are excellent at their work.
Mhm.
Excellent. I mean, again, I just sat with a pool contractor and his work is absolutely gorgeous and then you look through everything and he's like, "Well, I didn't know that was this." And I'm just like, "Okay." I was like, "But how did you how have you been tracking? How do you know if you're making money? How do you know?" He goes, "Oh, well, I mean, I just kind of what did he say? He said something like, "I just kind of guess." And I know he's like, "I think I'm he's like, I know I'm doing well."
Yeah, you're doing well enough to have money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
There's money in the
Yes.
bank. So to a lot of contract, well, there's money in the bank, so I'm fine. And that's again, you can run your business like that,
You
but if you
can.
want to grow and
Yes.
eventually, have something maybe a little bit bigger, you have to grab it
Yeah.
by the horns and you have to really take a moment. And it's not a lot of people don't like the back end
Mm-mm.
of you again. I know.
Listen.
This is a lot of people don't like it and it's a lot of things they're just like I just don't want to do this.
I don't.
And
Okay.
so
Oh
yeah,
my God.
I know.
I think it's sustainability too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Woo! I'm 0 still. I'm doing so well.
The sustainability of a company is really reliant on your profit margin.
Yeah.
And you talk about that pool contractor not knowing.
Yeah.
So Trev was, I formed the LLC, the operating agreements, set up the one thing we did right was we set up QuickBooks immediately. And that's
Yes.
what we invoiced and
Yeah.
ran
And
payments through.
QuickBooks is great. It has so many tutorials.
Mhm.
It'll teach you how to do stuff. You just
Exactly.
have to take a moment.
Yes.
Contractors don't like taking moments.
No. And the other thing that I made sure we have one business bank account.
Yep.
And we had one credit card
Yeah.
for the business.
Yeah.
And there was no commingling of funds.
It's literally the first thing I have to sit with contractors about. And I'm just like, you got to split.
You got to split it up. There's no
your
way.
business isn't your personal account.
Yeah.
So,
No. And that's been the biggest,
Mhm.
I guess, help was we started that way. Because I knew doing the accounting and the taxes at the end of the year was going to be hellacious if I did not have that separated out.
For sure.
Again,
Or you're going to end up paying your CPA $20,000 at the end of the
Gosh,
year.
yeah.
And because they're going to end up having to separate everything, or it's going to take them 3 times as long to go through and decide what was for the business, what was for personal. And then,
oh my goodness.
yeah. So
It's
either
a
you're going to
nightmare.
pay for it either way.
Yeah. Just do the work up
Yeah.
front. I
Yeah.
would think that'd be my number one thing for
Yep.
entrepreneurs. Set that bank account up. For us, we run all of our expenses through a credit card because we get travel points.
Well, you get all the points. You can use
Yeah.
them for anything
Yeah.
at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And the key is pay that off. So, but
every
you can't,
month,
you
every month,
every
pay-
month, and
every
you
month pay
cannot
that
pay
off.
it off unless you're invoicing, unless you're getting paid
Mhm.
properly, unless you're profitable.
Yes.
And I remember in my experience, Trev was running it by himself, answering the phones, scheduling himself, going to run the calls. he quickly got overwhelmed. So I
Yeah,
started
it's a
answering the
lot.
phone.
It's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a
It's a
lot.
lot.
I started answering the phones. I started getting more involved. I always did our accounting part,
Cool.
the back end
Yeah.
or bookkeeping. I'm not an
Mhm.
accountant.
No, yeah.
I always did the bookkeeping and the invoicing part for him. But then there came a time where even he had a mental kind of breakdown and
I bet it's too much.
it's a lot.
It's too much trying to do the work schedule. That's
It's a
just a
lot.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took so much off of his plate in that aspect. But I remember trying to get the information out of his brain. Like, how do you price things? Like, what's your metric?
Mhm.
How are you doing this? And he's like, it's
Yeah.
just in my head.
Mhm. You're like, I need you to write it down for me, please.
Yeah. Do you know
You're
that
like,
is one of the biggest struggles that we had up until this last year, quite honestly,
yeah.
because there was and trying to pull that information out of
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
and make it so that other
Mhm.
people could utilize it and that we were profitable. That's been one of our biggest projects the last year
Yeah.
for me, 2 years, really.
Again, I think it's so common with contractors because again, they
Yeah.
see the problem, they know what it's going to take to fix
Right.
the problem, and they can just kind of be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
price it out with parts, labor,
Yeah.
equipment," and
Done.
but then if you ask them like, how much are you charging
Yeah.
to do this? And they're like, "Well, I don't know. It's in this lump sum." And it's like, "No.
Yeah.
No. I need a breakdown so
Right.
we can put something together so we can again, grow." And if you
Grow.
want to grow,
Sustain.
if you want to grow, you have to have the basics in place.
Yeah. And I
So,
think, again, the basics, even I am still learning, but,
yeah.
it became what's our overhead? What's our fixed? What's our
Mhm.
variable?
Yeah.
What's my tech burden rate? How many hours? What's our
Yeah.
flag rate? So it really, you get into that. And now I can say, like, our break even, to break even, we're at $150 an hour.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of there's still that, like,
Yeah.
mindset that plumbers are $100 an hour. And I'm like, sorry, to run a business here.
Well, yeah. Our area has become like a tourist destination.
For sure.
So the fact that our islands are all rentals at this point. You know what I mean? Everything has gone up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Insurance,
everything.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to be at $100 an hour or $90 an hour, right? But that $100,000,
maybe 5 years ago.
yeah, that
You know what I mean?
$100,000 insurance bill,
Yeah. That was before COVID and before all the crazy started.
unreal.
Yeah.
But I think there's and obviously in our case, and you can speak on this too, probably, there's at least some working knowledge of that.
Yeah.
But I think the big disconnect happens when you have an entrepreneur running it and then a spouse that's not involved. And so, in the business or
Yeah.
in the P&Ls. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what, again, the focus is, the financial literacy for spouses, not just
Yeah.
in personal finance, but in also the business
Yeah,
finances.
for sure.
So,
I think I think if how do I put it? I think having your spouse involved, if they want to be first, let's put that out
yeah,
there. I have met spouses that want nothing to do with their husband's contracting business.
that's fair.
There's a few of them out there where they're just like, I think he has an excavator, and I'm like, okay, good. I was like,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Listen,
If you don't have an interest, this podcast would be fun to listen to for you, and it'll
Yeah.
give you a lot of information that you probably don't want.
Yeah.
So,
I think though there's
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
level of a protection. I understand not wanting it if you have your own gig, if you haven't
yeah,
lost your earning power.
for sure.
Cool.
For sure. Yes.
Have that stance.
Yes.
But for a lot of people, having the knowledge of at least knowing like what a P&L looks like.
I agree for anybody, and even if you're not the entrepreneur and you're the spouse that's not interested, I think you should have some sort of, again, literacy in it so you understand something
Yeah.
that's going on.
Yeah.
And so you're not, God forbid, ever completely blindsided, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? We've seen those stories.
seen
We'll get
so
into those
many,
later at
for
some
sure.
point, but
Agreed.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that, there are people out there that don't care or don't have the worry. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
but I feel like there's, again, the empowerment side of it, but there's also kind of protecting. I don't want to say you want to protect yourself and be adversarial with your partner. That's not what we're advocating for at all.
No.
But
No,
I
no, no,
do
no.
think
Yeah.
a certain level of involvement, understanding the P&L. I think if you only know the P&L,
Yeah.
if you can only see,
Yes, if you
like,
could
this
only
is
truly understand what's going on
Mhm,
in it, which,
mhm.
again, QuickBooks breaks it. It's
It's so
beautiful. It's
wonderful.
so easy to
Mhm.
understand. I mean, if the person entering is putting everything where it's supposed to be,
Right.
we run into those problems, which again, it
And
is
not waiting until
confusing.
the end of the year to get it done.
Yes, it
I've
can
been
be
guilty of that.
it can be very overwhelming, but
Uh-huh.
again, I'm a big advocate. QuickBooks has a lot of
It's really great.
tutorials we're going to get them to be one of our sponsors.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway,
that's a great
but
idea.
yeah, it'll be like QuickBooks, we need you.
QuickBooks.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So back
Yeah.
to, if we can help people understand P&L, and if you don't know what a P&L is, because yes, it's a profit and loss statement.
Yes.
So, and it goes over basically the health of your business is
Yeah.
kind of what I call it.
Mhm.
When I come into a business, I kind of ask them, like, let me see
Your P&L.
your P&L, and
Mhm.
let's see, where you're at, what you're doing, and where, if there is a problem. Not saying that there's always a problem, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But just to see where you're at so I can help.
Being married to our spouses, entrepreneurs or not, we want to hope for the best, right?
Oh, for sure.
We
I
want
mean, you
to
have
live
as a spouse, you have full faith in
Yeah.
your partner.
Yeah.
You know what
We're
I
gonna live
mean?
happily ever
Yeah.
after.
And then, or you're gonna, like, I have full faith that you're gonna run this business and we're gonna be okay.
Yes.
But again, knowledge is power. And I think the more each person knows, the better
Mhm.
off as a whole, and as a, as a
Yeah.
whole unit or a family,
Yeah. I
it'll be
think even
beneficial.
if that is a yearly at the very minimum, you're looking at that P&L at the end of the year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because then you've got an idea. I mean,
Exactly.
and that's kind of where in our first episode we talked about how, there's the spouse at home taking care of the household, taking care of the kids,
Mhm.
running that,
Oh, yeah.
and even contributing to the business, answering phones or scheduling or
Yes.
marketing or whatever
Mhm.
they're doing or networking, that don't own any part of the business. And now, obviously, you're married. Technically speaking, depending on the state that you're in, it's going to be a 50-50 split. But 50-50 of what? Because you and I both know how P&L can be manipulated if
If the person is unfortunately not a stand-up person,
right.
yes. But usually, I mean, usually an accountant won't let that happen,
A
like,
forensic accountant if you know to ask your attorney to
yes,
subpoena
exactly.
that information,
Exactly.
right?
And so I think, I mean, they could try,
Mhm.
but yeah, if you have a good enough attorney, they're going to go back and they're going to look through and make sure that
Yeah.
everything is,
Yeah.
up to par.
Right.
But yeah, but again, we've seen on both cases
Mhm.
a spouse being bullied,
Uh-huh.
or, threatened. And unfortunately, sometimes people, I think, just want out of a situation.
Yes.
And yeah, I think
And
they
they're
just,
not thinking of that long
they're
term.
not thinking of the long term. They're not thinking of, 5 years from now. They're thinking of, I need to get out right this moment, and
Yeah.
whatever it takes is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so,
I've seen so many stories of that though, because there's no long-term financial
yeah.
security.
Mm-hmm.
Um, obviously numbers can be manipulated if you don't own 50% or if you only own 49 or if you only own 25%. I
Even
just
if you
feel
only
like
owe 5% of it,
right.
at least you're in the
You're
game, and
in.
you have every right to demand receipts. You have every
Mhm.
right to demand, like, prove
Yeah.
what this is.
Right.
Prove it to me. Why? Why did
Exactly.
you move this money, or why did you do this? Like, prove
Right.
it to me.
Right.
And honestly, this is, I don't know how to word this right, but you can help me with it.
Okay.
Like, when you're with somebody like you and Trevor,
Yeah.
like, you're never planning on splitting up.
No.
So why wouldn't you just give him half of the business?
Right.
Like, even say, like, if you guys weren't partners, say you, like, branch out and
Mhm.
start your own AC company,
Right.
and he's like, I want nothing to do with that. Like, you're
My
on your
real
own.
estate company.
Yeah,
He owns
exactly.
half.
Yeah,
He
but
does nothing for it.
that's fine. But
Right.
but again, you don't plan on splitting. And
No.
so why wouldn't you?
Right.
I think there's this stigma,
Mhm.
like, well, I'm the one, you're doing everything for your real estate. Why should your husband get any
Right.
part of it? But
Well,
it's like, why wouldn't he?
right.
He's your partner.
Yes.
Even if, and God forbid, he might show up to a showing for you if you're very ill that day.
He has put out signs for me before.
Exactly. So, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's like, I think that stigma where why wouldn't you say
Mhm.
that? And if your spouse loves you and plans to be with you until death,
Yes.
they're going to be like, yeah, of course. Even if it was only, again, 5% of the company,
Right.
it's still something to secure yourself.
Yeah. And that's that long-term
Yeah.
financial security that we're talking about, obviously, right now. And things change. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned and watched, unfortunately, because of friends going through it, is you do not divorce the same person that you married.
No,
You don't.
you don't.
So part of our big, I guess, passion for me is take care of yourself financially while you're in it on good terms. Like, have these
Yes.
conversations, set yourself up for success, because we've seen
Yeah.
so many people ruined financially after a
Yes.
divorce.
100%.
And then you add that level of entrepreneurship in there, and
Yeah.
it's even worse.
And I feel like if you have a little bit of skin in the game, I feel like it changes the perspective.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sure Trevor supports your real estate business 100% because it brings money to the table.
Right.
Even if that he doesn't do anything
Right.
for it. But you know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
he's still like, yeah. He's like, get out there. You
Yeah.
got this.
You go make
Yeah.
us some money.
Exactly. Exactly. Come on.
Yeah.
You know? So I think when I feel like it's a little bit of an incentive too, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
if you are fighting with your partner, it could be something to,
Mhm.
you know, even out the table. But again, relationships are tricky and it's a lot of balancing and it's a lot of
Yeah.
figuring out what each partner's willing to either sacrifice or
Yeah.
grind through. Basically.
Absolutely.
All right. Back to a couple more financial literacy terms because
Yeah.
we're running out of time.
Uh-huh.
So,
Of course.
I know. Anyway, so a profit and loss statement, again, it's like the health of the company. It goes over
Revenue.
yeah, revenue, your expenses, exactly.
Yes.
Like costs, keep it easy.
Mhm.
You know, what money's coming in and what money's going out.
Right.
So that's basically
P&L.
Yeah.
And then you'll have your net. And then there's a net at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Net. Balance sheet. To be honest, the balance sheet is good. The P&L is my like.
Yeah, the balance sheet I think is what I've at least through my experience, I'm sure there's lots of ways for it. Again, I know enough and I'm not, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I am not a CPA. So,
Right.
a balance sheet I definitely think is used for more of like lending purposes.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Here's
And
our balances.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And I noticed when I was buying equipment for the company
Yeah.
or, you know, taking out loans or whatever, they always asked for the balance sheet,
Yeah.
you know, or for bonding,
Yeah.
insurance. Like they want to see that because again, your profit loss is the overall, your balance sheet is kind of a little bit,
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. I think
So-
the other thing too would be an asset list, but that's kind of niche to our
Construction industry, I think everybody
Uh-huh.
needs to have an asset list. And the only thing that I have learned, like you're learning it right now,
Yeah.
we learn it the hard way. You don't think about it.
Uh-huh.
You know, like you have your assets in QuickBooks that have loans on them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Depreciation and all that
Yep,
fun stuff.
exactly. And then some of the bigger stuff you'll put in there for
Mhm.
depreciation, but usually,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's the bigger things. You're not putting, you know, your Milwaukee fuel set in there. You know,
We should though, because we've
Only
got 10 of
Milwaukee
them.
fuel,
Yeah.
only.
All of
Lord.
our pack outs.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Right.
so you're not putting those in there. Maybe some businesses do. The contractors I've worked with usually don't because they
No,
get
it's a
left in
lot.
holes. They get
Yeah.
left in, you know, in a house, in
Yeah.
an attic. And then all of a
Right.
sudden it's like that $300 drill is missing.
Gone.
Yeah.
Happens
So,
all the time.
but yeah, an asset list is definitely
I think too, like
important.
for us, it's like our fleet, our
Oh
iPads,
yeah, 100%.
our cameras.
Technology is a
Yeah.
huge thing. You
Well.
know, it's one of those things I have to remind contractors to put that in there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking of too is, you know, there's a lot of conversation to be had whether you're a business owner or own part of the business and that your spouse is running or this, that, and the other. The other part of that is they can contribute to 401ks or IRAs for you. That sets up your long-term financial.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we'll definitely need to dive into that more
Mm-hmm.
in one of the episodes just to really explain how important,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. And I think, again,
Yeah,
confidence comes from knowledge.
for sure.
Knowledge comes from facing your situation.
Yep.
Seeking out, and we're going to provide as much as we can.
Yeah, of course.
Education on that part. But
and we're going to always encourage to go get more education.
Yes.
There's so many resources out there.
And I think
So
even the basics. I know when
Yeah.
personally, this was personal before any business, anything. I had a spreadsheet and I love Excel. So
yeah,
but
I feel like everybody does.
there's a calculator for it, I'm sure somewhere. There's apps for them out there.
Yeah.
But my most basic thing was I knew how much I was getting paid and I knew my pay dates. And so I would literally line out my pay dates.
Mm-hmm.
I would line out how much I was getting paid and I would line up my bills and make sure they were scheduled early. And that way, as soon as my paycheck hit, within a day or two, those bills were coming out.
Yeah.
And I knew at that point, my bills are paid.
Yeah.
They're not late.
And it gives you peace of mind.
And I have this much for groceries and gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just budgeting. It's, again, the basics.
That's very basic.
The very, very basics that we're going to teach people.
I've got this much. I've got $100 to spend on Amazon this week.
Exactly.
I mean, but that's how broken down that was.
Well, and
Very
honestly, that's
basic.
what it should be
Yeah.
even when you get to a financially secure situation,
You
I
still
feel
are
like
doing it.
you're still going to be doing it because once you have that, you're never going to want to get rid of it.
Right.
So you're going to do everything in your power to keep it.
Yeah. And
So
yeah, I really do think that, again, primary focus of this episode is financial literacy for spouses.
yes.
Take that initiative.
Yeah. Find a course. I mean, there's plenty of content out there. You know what I mean? I wish I had an example of somebody, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Eventually we will.
You'll be one.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah.
Empower yourself through knowledge.
Yeah.
Build your confidence. Have the hard conversations. Address your anxiety.
And talk. Again, like you mentioned before, when you're in a good spot and this is something that's been weighing on you, because I can guarantee there's a bunch of spouses that this is weighing on them where they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And they'd like a stake in the company, but they don't know how to ask.
Yeah.
Just ask.
Just ask. Just have the
Again,
conversation.
if your partner is your partner, they're not going to say no.
Right.
Again, like you're the best example. You know what I mean? They're not, no one, if even if you didn't give Trevor half, if he came to you at some point, it's like, hey, I'd really like to, you'd be like, okay, like, let's go do we have to pay for the paperwork. Why didn't you say anything at the beginning?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But it's a very small cost to do.
It is.
It's like
very
nothing.
small. And I would almost question.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting
I know where you're going with it. Yeah. Why would you get pushback? That's when those questions are going to be harder. Like, why?
Yes.
Why not?
Why? Right. Not why. What about, my long-term security, right?
Yeah.
I want to be okay in the future. Should something happen, again, we all think happy. This is never going to, stuff happens. That is the one thing that I've learned.
Oh yeah. Me
across
too.
the board. People change, people grow.
For sure.
People be peopling is what I say.
Exactly. It's so true though. It's so true.
And you love your spouse. You love your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You want the best. Sometimes that means you're separated. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So plan for, and that, this was kind of drilled into me by my grandma, to be quite honest. And my dad. Never rely.
It's always the females of the family. Mine too, all the way up. You go all the way back in mine and they're just like, you make sure
you're financially secure.
Yeah, you take care of you. And it's like, okay, I
think we have a couple more minutes. But to be quite honest with you.
We do.
This is more of a societal, overarching theme here. But I didn't understand my grandma for a long time. My dad's mom, her name was Betty. We called her Boop.
Yeah.
Or G-Ma.
Yeah. Boop is cuter, Betty Boop.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Born in the 20s. Right?
Yeah. Awesome. Yep.
So that woman, now, was she a little crazy? Yes.
I can't wait. Crazy grandma.
100% that woman was crazy. But let's think about her living in that time.
Yeah.
You had to have a man to survive.
Mm,
Women could not get bank accounts on their own.
yeah.
We weren't even
mind-blowing.
listen, women could not get credit cards until the 70s. That's our
Yeah.
mothers.
Yeah.
So I think about her being married 8 times. Well, back then,
Yeah.
she had to have a man, but she wasn't putting up with their BS. Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. She was not going to be that person.
Good for her.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Good
so
for
now
her.
it makes a lot more sense. And she was the one that really drove it home.
Yeah.
Do not rely on a man. You don't have to. I had to. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You do not rely. Now, I think that translates, obviously, to any spouses and partners.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. If
Yeah.
I feel like a man could feel the exact same way.
Exactly.
So, and I'm sure a
But-
lot do, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. But that is really where, I mean, take care of yourself, take care of yourself, your financial self,
Yes.
your health.
Yeah.
But really having those conversations and not avoiding them
Yeah.
with your spouse,
Exactly.
partner,
Exactly.
whoever. So
For sure. So, financial literacy, everybody.
look it up.
Look it up. Find something. Find resources.
Yeah, you
know
can
what
have
I
a little
mean?
homework project.
Exactly.
Homework project.
Just look up, even if it's all brand new, look up a profit and loss statement,
Yeah.
a balance sheet. You know what I mean? And
Ask
then,
your partner.
yeah, or ask them to show you. Again, they'll probably be excited that you're showing interest in their business.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When someone owns their own business, they're usually extremely passionate about it. So
Yes.
they're not going to be like, no, you can't
Yeah.
see anything. They're going to be like, wait, you want to see what's going on?
Right.
And so,
But if they don't have a P&L, let's
Yeah.
advocate for a CPA or a bookkeeper.
yeah, I would be like, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah. You can approach that in a very nice way.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
But
I didn't even think
again,
about that.
That is literally your you think
Yeah.
about your financial everything
Yeah.
can go, and I've tried to explain that to some women. They're like, well, that's his business. If it goes down, then it is what it is. And I was like, girl, you are married.
This is Florida.
You are
We're in
married, my
Florida.
dear.
Yeah.
That is going to affect you just as
Oh,
much when they take your
my.
house. I promise.
Yeah, and all your cars and all your personal
Yes.
assets. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a really scary
Again,
mindset.
there are business setups that can protect all that, but
Yes.
you're going to pay a lot of money for it, and most people do not have it set up that way.
Right.
So, yeah.
We'll get into that more.
Oh, for sure.
So many more episodes on the way.
For sure.
Yeah, super excited. So
All right. So, if you've liked us,
appreciate the
Again.
value we're bringing.
yeah, hopefully you'll subscribe below.
Yeah.
Like us, find us on all the socials. We're out
Yep.
there,
Yep.
you know, like everybody.
Beyond tradition.
Yep.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.